We watched episode 7 of Rings of Power, so you know what time it is.
Hit that intro.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alright everybody, if it's your first time joining us, welcome! We're two dads who love all things fandom, from Star Wars to Star Trek, Marvel to DC, and Middle-earth on down to Westeros. We love it all, and we want to bring all of our insights and love of all things nerdy to you, our viewers. So if that's your cup of tea, we're here for you, and you should definitely subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on all the amazing reviews and insights that we bring to all of our favorite fandoms. So thanks for tuning in, guys. My name is Chris Matthews, and I'm joined, as always, by the stranger himself. Some people think he's Sauron, some people think he's Gandalf, or maybe even a blue wizard, but I know him as Matt Parham. How you doing today, brother?
Not too bad. I really have a striking resemblance to the blue wizard.
At least in one of our episodes you did, and if you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. He shaved a little bit for the podcast today, or our show.
That stoic, non-repentant look to me, ready to inflict all sorts of horrible damage on people shorter than myself.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it, brother. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Episode 7, titled The Eye, directed by Charlotte Brandstrom and written by Jason Cahill. Rotten Tomatoes score, looked it up, 87%. And I kind of wanted to take a second here, guys, and talk about the Rotten Tomatoes scores. Because if you're thinking, oh man, you know, this is getting such high ratings, it's not really, it's an aggregate score if you didn't know from Rotten Tomatoes. So how it works, and I did some research on this just to bring this to our audience out there. How this works is if it gets a 60% or above from critics, it's rated as fresh, and it takes that aggregate, compiles it all together for its overall score. So 87% of critics here give it a 60% or above. So that doesn't mean that it's a, like, if you got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, that doesn't mean every critic is rating it 100%. It just means the majority of them are giving it a 60% or above. And it's kind of what we do here, and that's my measure, I think, for me and you, Matt. If it's lower than a 6 out of 10, then I'm not liking the episode all that much. So, kind of the same thing that we're going into. So, just wanted to explain that to you, our viewers out there. If you didn't know, that's how Rotten Tomatoes works. So don't think that the 87% that this episode is getting means that, oh man, that's a high B+ for this episode. You know, that just means most critics thought it was watchable, right?
That's exactly right. Same thing goes for all those classic films that you might look up on Rotten Tomatoes. You know, when they get those scores, it just means they're worth a look-see.
Yeah, it's worth a look-see, and all this is subjective. You might like things that we don't like, and you might like things that we like as well. It's just all subjective. We're here to be entertained, right? And to drink some coffee. I've got my coffee here. I'm ready to go. So let's find out what these two dads thought of The Rings of Power, Episode 7, The Eye. So hit it, Matt. What'd you think of this episode?
I was about to just launch right into it, and then I had to come to a complete stop here on the highway. Yeah,
kind of like Galadriel when that whole wave of ash came flooding next to her.
Oh man, I was thinking about that so much over the past week. You know, you brought it up, like, why did she just stand there? You know, but I honestly felt, and I think we got a little bit of that today, or in this last episode. I felt like Galadriel is feeling defeated and personally responsible for everything that's happening to the villagers and the poor Númenóreans that followed her to Middle-earth. And the weight of all of that just hit her like a pyroclastic cloud to the face. So
It did. It did. And that portrayal by Morfydd Clark is awesome. Like, she's doing such a good job with showing the weight of this defeat too. Absolutely. In that walk of shame, a different type of walk of shame than She-Hulk, but definitely a walk of shame afterwards.
Not quite on a par with the shoes in the hands of Daredevil walking through the grass. No, I think that it was a great portrayal, like you were saying, and I love these episodes that we get every once in a while when a show takes the time to show the repercussions of some kind of massive plot-changing event
Right.
like this. We don't have to just necessarily rush into the next plot point. We don't necessarily have to have some time jump over
Mm-hmm.
this incredibly important characterization that can come from the aftermath of an event like this. And so that's all we see in this episode. We see these characters and what happens to them after Mount Doom is formed.
Yeah.
So I really love that aspect of it. I love that we're back to seeing the Harfoots, and
Mm-hmm. Yes.
we've got all sorts of great um, scenes with them, including their encounter with the silent sort of white creatures, wizards, whatever they end
Menacing.
up being.
Wizards, priests, whatever they might be.
Right.
Yeah.
Not sure why they just didn't strike all of them down, but instead, a real sort of dick move here. They just burn all their food.
We'll just take what you think is precious to
Yeah.
you and move along. Move
So
along.
anyway, it was a good episode showing where they are at with all of this. I also loved the little touches of what the Harfoots discover. Sort of, it showed their proximity to the Southlands. They're encountering, maybe some of the ash and the,
Yeah.
the pieces of the
They
mountain
were.
all
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, Chris, I don't know if you noticed just like the smoke lingering in the far sky
Mm-hmm.
in some of those shots of the Harfoot. So I loved all that little detail. And there
Yeah.
really, to me, there wasn't a whole lot that I didn't like about this episode, other than the fact that this show continues to set itself apart from House of the Dragon in a number of different ways. And one of them I didn't like so much, in that there doesn't seem to be quite the same stakes as we get in a show that can really jack up the tension like House of the Dragon, simply because we don't know who will make it to the next episode. And as an audience member, you don't really understand, should I invest emotionally in this character? They could be dead next episode. But here, I think that most of our main characters are going to be relatively safe.
Yeah.
Even if a volcano is exploded right next to them, or erupted right next to them. So I was a little disappointed that all of our main characters made it out and fairly unscathed, even though I guess we don't know what's happened to Isildur yet, because of his
I mean, you can
placement.
kind of guess.
Yeah, in the history of Middle Earth, we know he's going to make it. So
yeah. Yeah, so he rushed into the fire, and then that's the last time we saw him. One of the criticisms I have about this episode is Elendil himself, because he's played by Lloyd Owen, and I've liked this character the whole time.
Yeah,
I kind of found it out of character for him to make such a switch, because of Isildur being missing and everything, and then he's instantly blaming Galadriel there, and he turns around and he starts to cry and everything, and I can as dads I can understand that emotion and everything else, but at the same time this guy has shown like a kingly presence, and even talking about his wife dying didn't affect him at all, and so it was quite the character shift for me, and I don't know if it played exactly right. So that was one critique I had of the whole show.
I think that, along with all the devastation and the Queen Regent now being blinded by this event, he's probably sitting there, with the portrayal that we got by Lloyd Owen. He's probably sitting there thinking, why in the world did he do what he did? Like he says, why did he pull Galadriel from the sea? It all seems for nothing now. And in the process of following her along every beat, here for anything that she's asked him to do, basically. Galadriel has essentially led him into this terrible, terrible tragedy for no reason. They didn't really accomplish much of anything. So,
and this was a good thing for the plot and everything in the story, and if this does follow the established story, which, guys, I know out there that they are veering away from the lore. This is a big thing, and we're not going to discuss that here. But if they do follow the story, this is a good plot beat for that. I mean, the Queen Regent Muriel is defeated, blinded, and they're going back to Numenor right now. And so this is going to cause even more tension about whether or not they should have helped the elves because they were defeated. And so there's going to be tension riled up between the faithful. The faithful are the people that are taking the sides of the elves and everything, as they did in the past, or the Kingsmen who decide to go against the elves and whatnot. So those two factions are going to be kind of fighting each other in Numenor, and I can imagine that's probably what we're going to see next season, because we only have one episode left. I don't think that they're going to wrap that up, and then we're going to get to see kind of the forging of the rings within the next season as well. People are the board is cast, basically. We're seeing people go to certain areas and get things done to further this plot. And I gotta say, Matt, I'm almost 99% sure now. Good old Hallbrand.
Some reason to head on up to see Elrond.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw him there, and as soon as Galadriel saw him, I'm like, he needs elvish medicine, and they take off and go see the elves. I'm like, he's the only one. Like, and if you look at this reasonably, and a lot of people are questioning whether or not, again, you know, this has been the big plot and the big question this season, and I'm almost getting sick of it, who Sauron is this season. A lot of people think that it's the stranger. A lot of people think that it might be this priest, or it might even be somebody we haven't seen. There are even people out there that still think that Adar is Sauron, which I can pretty much say, no, he probably is not 100% on that.
Right.
But for Hallbrand, think about this, and if you look back at the entire season as a whole, who else have they set up that has been a smith, that has shown proficiency in that area, that has basically bent everybody to his will, you know, and has shown a darker side to him, and that he has something that he's not telling everybody. Who else have they set up in that way? Nobody, except for, like, the stranger, but every action that the stranger makes doesn't indicate that this person is a bad character. Even the moments where they're like, "Oh man, well, what is he doing?" He's doing it out of a good reason. Like we saw in this episode when he was trying to heal the trees and people thought he failed, and then we get that close up of the little leaf branch popping out of it, and all of a sudden they got a bunch of apples and everything. So that's kind of the way that they played the stranger's character. It's like, at first you think that he destroys this tree and everything and he's evil, but as we've seen depicted in this episode, he's actually a force for good. So I don't think that the stranger is Sauron. I do absolutely believe that they're setting Hallbrand up to be Sauron in this.
Yep, I am. Yep. I continue to be more and more convinced that he's our guy, and I honestly think that they'll reveal that sooner rather than later. I think we might even see it happen in
next episode.
Finale.
Yeah, like I said last week, I think that they will reveal Sauron by the end of this season, because that's setting up the board. You've got to, like, if they're placing this in the time when they're making the rings, we'll know one way or the, even if they don't spell it out, we'll know who it is by who's helping Celebrimbor with the forging of these rings of power. So yeah, we definitely will know. I agree, Matt, that we will find out probably next episode.
And I think that we, the audience, will find out. There's no way that they could have people in the know in the show because of how someone's name is equated with evil, obviously, but
right.
Yeah, so I think we'll be ahead of the characters, and I mean, to me, that'll create an interesting dynamic in watching future seasons and episodes,
right?
Which continues to expand that mystery subplot into something that isn't just the same beat all the time.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
I think it could be pretty cool to see.
And once again, like I have another really favorite thing that I liked about this episode was once again Elrond and Durin, Prince Durin, absolutely having the best friendship moments throughout this whole series. And if you don't like anything else about this series, man, this is definitely something you can grab onto. It's something I do. Just having those moments, and they can actually live in these moments too, where they're trying to mine for this mithril together as friends and everything. And Durin sits there and he's about to tell an elf his dwarvish name, something you can only tell like your immediate family and everything. And Elrond's like, stop right there. Don't do that, because he respects him so much. That was a beautiful scene. These two actors are killing it when it comes to this relationship. I actually think they're probably really good friends in real life, Robert.
It feels like it.
Doesn't it? It absolutely does. Owen Arthur and Robert Ameo, they've got to be buddies. Like, they've got to be getting some beers after work and whatnot and forming a real relationship.
I kind of want to see like a picture of the two of them together to figure out which one actually is taller.
Yeah, exactly. Because they do force perspective and all that stuff in these shows. So since the dwarves are shorter than the elves, so yeah, maybe they are. Maybe Owen Arthur is a lot bigger than Robert Armeo. So we'll see. But I very much like this episode. That was awesome. Getting to see the Balrog at the end there with the leaf as King Durin closed up that mine shaft. Once again, seeing that tension between Prince Durin and his father, absolutely wonderful. I love that moment too in this episode where the king sits him down and he's talking about how he saw his son and he just knew he was going to be a king, one day when he was holding his baby. Beautiful moment. And then having Prince Durin sit there and defend his friend too and go out on his own way. And I don't know exactly what the meaning of him taking off that little crest thing was, but it's kind of like maybe he's denouncing him.
It's owned him.
Yeah.
I think he basically said he's not a Durin anymore.
Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic that those two have. And in the end, the king is actually maybe right in this because what we know from the future is they mine too deep and too greedily, so they release that Balrog, which we obviously see at the end of this episode. So that might have, while Prince Durin is trying to save his friend and save the elves, at the same time, there's a cost to doing that or mining this mithril. So it's a cool dynamic. I like that story beat. So hats off for the writers for doing that. Again, the writers have a hand, both hands basically tied behind their backs when it comes to this stuff. They can legally only use certain things from Lord of the Rings and the appendices, and they're making just as much effort into making a great show with what little they have. And the budget of this really does help too, and the actors are doing a great job as well. So everybody's bringing their A game towards this project, and I know that still some fans are a little upset with this and feel like it's a disgrace to Tolkien and whatnot. But as a show, if you just take it by itself, I think that they are doing a good job with this. And for my rating of this episode, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. What about you, brother?
Oh, man, I loved it. I loved the emotion that was just inserted into every single scene.
Yeah.
I really like these episodes that, like I said, show the aftermath of these types of events. And I could rewatch it over and over again. I loved all of it. There wasn't a whole lot that I found fault with other than some CGI when they busted through that wall to discover the multiple veins of mithril throughout that other cavern.
Yeah.
It looked a little off. Some of the forced perspective, to me, it made me smile and kind of nostalgic for Lord of the Rings. Those types of shots were very prominent in the original trilogy, and I liked seeing that same effect here, but it does pull you out just a little bit. So for me, there wasn't a whole lot of gripe. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Whoa! Big score, high score for Matt Parham. 9 out of 10, 7 out of 10 for me. For me, it's just like, I did like all those performances. I didn't think like you said, like it kind of lived in the story and where we're at. But I'm just ready for the finale. I guess I'm ready to see
Really
more. Right. So, yep. And so that's 9 out of 10 for Matt, 7 out of 10 for me.
Yep.
Do we have
It's
any?
gonna be fun
Yeah.
this Friday.
Yeah, we'll be there to review the final episode. Can't believe it. We made it to the end, Matt. So, do we have anything else we want to say before we depart these lands of Middle Earth and Adar's new Mordor land?
Right? No, I don't think so.
All right.
Check us out for all new episodes coming as quickly as we can put them out.
Right, and make sure that you subscribe and like this video if you can. It really helps us out. We're a small channel, and we love talking about movies and the fandoms that we all love. And once again, if we hit 100 subscribers, this guy right here is going to shave his head. Well, my daughter's going to shave my head, and so you get to look forward to that. So just another reason for you to subscribe to the channel. So thank you for joining us today. Hope you guys have a great day, and can't wait to join you for the season finale of Rings of Power. And from our families to yours, adios.
Have a good one.